Hello there, I'm John Burgundy of RPG Community College, and I'm here to give you a quick look at the Beneath the Stolen Lands DLC for Pathfinder Kingmaker. The Steam page's description for this DLC goes a little something like this. You're going to enter a massive dungeon with a party made from scratch. You can begin your adventure to the tenebrous depths with a party of newly created characters. Start the game from the main menu and experience the descent into an endless roguelike dungeon. Explore the near infinite possibilities of building a Pathfinder character. You can try out different builds to perfect your tactics at your leisure, or create a band of adventurers able to overcome any danger. Defeat is but a new beginning. Dying in an encounter enables benefits for your next playthrough. Unlock new items to buy across multiple playthroughs. The number of item slots nearby traders have depends on how far you've been able to descend during all of your previous forays combined. Or you'll be able to enter the dungeon as your main character in the story campaign. Alternatively, you can wait for an invitation from a mysterious protector of Galarian as you play through the main story. The preset version of the dungeon is included into the main campaign, allowing you to use your character and companions to conquer the tenebrous depths. This is a very accurate description. If I had anything to add, it would be that this is not really a story-driven piece of DLC. I'm sure more than a few people have bought this game because of its lengthy, well-crafted, and presented story. Owlcat's commitment to putting the narrative first really shines through in their game, but this is not going to be the case for this DLC. They didn't really put any more story into this one than what was needed, and this is just this is a heavily combat-focused DLC. And I don't think this is a bad thing, don't get me wrong. And what little story there is, I really did personally enjoy, but I did think this is worth mentioning. But with that out of the way, let's hop in and let's see what this piece of content's all about. And here we have the hub area. This is going to be where you start off in the DLC. And the first thing you're going to want to do is come over here and talk to the Silver Dragon. This is the person that's going to summon you here, and he's going to, explain why you're here and what you're doing and all that. He also doubles as a merchant, and you're also going to be able to hire mercenaries or recruit companions from this dragon as well. And a little further down, there's another merchant as well, and he sells more like gear, like weapons and armor and things like that. Up here next to the dragon as well, you also have a shared stash. This is just store things for your playthrough. Any items that you put into this box don't carry over into your other playthroughs of the dungeon. There's also a table over here. This is where some key items are stored. And basically your goal is to go through the dungeon and kill 4 kind of mini bosses. And after you kill the mini bosses, they'll all drop an item. And once you get all 4 of the items that they drop, you will be able to go through a portal to fight the final boss. And the items that they drop are stored in this table. And only one of the people that you have to defeat spawns per dungeon run. So after you kill one of the adventurers, you'll either have to restart the dungeon, or just keep on continuing the dungeon until you die. And now for probably the most important part of this DLC, the actual dungeon that you're going to be going through. You're going to find that every floor of this dungeon is randomly generated. So everything that's going to be placed in these dungeons is going to be different every time you go through it. They might have like a similar tile set, or they might look the same, but you'll find everything placed differently. Each dungeon will have a different layout. There are like hidden walls and chests that will be placed in different places, and they'll all contain different pieces of loot. It's all randomly generated, so this gives the DLC a lot of replayability. And certain areas will be like covered in acid, or there'll be like fire or electricity all over the walls. And these areas will be given the monsters buffs that make them stronger. So you'll be fighting a lot of the monsters that you've already met in the new campaign, and a couple new ones. And after a couple levels in the dungeon, they're all going to have buffs to them, and they're going to be a little stronger than when you first encountered them. And they also scale with the level of the dungeon too, so the deeper you go in the dungeon, the harder things get. But to help with the difficulty increase of the dungeon, you also have these shrines that are spread throughout the dungeon. And if you pass a skill check, they'll give you a temporary buff to your characters. These can range from giving your whole party like greater invisibility for 5 minutes, to just like buffing their perception checks. They all vary in their usefulness, but I haven't found one that really was never worth getting. That's pretty much the basics of the DLC though, and that's all that it's going to contain. If you want my personal opinion on what it's like to actually play it, I've been having a ton of fun. I would highly recommend it. If you already own Pathfinder Kingmaker and you enjoy the combat and you just want to sit down and crawl through a dungeon for 4 or 5 hours, like, this is absolutely like the best way to do it. It's great for trying out new builds, or even just like setting the difficulty really low and just running through it with a wizard and blowing everything up. It's just good for having a couple hours of fun. It's very light in the story and heavy on the combat, but the combat is a ton of fun, and it's definitely enough to carry this DLC and make it worth your while. And if you already own the base game, this DLC is only $10. This was well worth my money, and I don't think I could get more fun for $10 anywhere else. I'll personally probably be playing this DLC for hundreds of hours. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. I really just have nothing but praise for the DLC. I think it's really great. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing. This is going to be all though. I hope you learned a thing or two, and I wish you the best of luck in all of your endeavors, and I hope to see you again soon.